Hi, my name's Luke Stierveld. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Gaffer. Over the last 6 months, I've been exchanging emails with Jeremy Gay and Mark Bender, who make up part of the sales team for Nanlux in the Americas. Nanlux is like a sibling to Nanlite, which you may have heard of. Nanlite has the Forza line, Forza 300, Forza 500, and also have Pavo tubes. I haven't played with any of those units, but Nanlux and Nanlite are both under a larger umbrella of a company based in China, whose name I'm going to butcher. Guangdong Nanguang Photo and Video Systems Company Limited. As I understand it, Nanlux makes LEDGO panels and Fresnels, and also the Dyno series. Today I'm going to talk a bit about the Dyno series. And as far as I know, it's made up of 2 units, the 650C and the 1200C. These are panel lights, ostensibly 650 watts and 1200 watts, where the C stands for color. So you have a fully tunable white as well as RGB and some effects. Jeremy and Mark drove up from LA and went around to a number of rental houses in the Bay Area. Rebel Sun, Little Giant, DTC, Bolt, and also JCX to show off these 2 units to anyone with interest. And then they left the 2 units with me, with the understanding that all the folks they had met could ask to use the units on jobs as they came up. It was a wonderful offer to use the units in the field for a couple months, get hands-on with it, and see what we thought. Down the road, I hope to sit down with DP Cisco Rivera to get his notes. But for starters, I wanted to give you my first impressions of using the 1200C out in the field. This is not a review in the classic sense, and I'm not going to talk about colorimetry or anything like that. This is just me bringing the unit onto a job and seeing how I can fit it into my regular workflow. In some instances, I was working with the DP who was used to working with Aries SkyPanel S360Cs, and also DPs who figured we'd be using HMIs or whatever we needed to get enough stop in a daylight setting where we were working with windows. For the most part, I was looking for a high output daylight source that I could plug into a regular home wall outlet. In this first case, we were in a model home kitchen, looking out towards the living room that had windows that looked out to the backyard. The space was a little tight, so we built up a booklight. We couldn't get a direct source far enough away, so a booklight actually made sense. And so we put the 1200C on the floor into a couple of ultra bounces, and then that came back through like a 6x1/2 grid. This was my first experience with the 1200C, and I was worried about the fan noise. So I brought it up with the sound person from the beginning, and they were like, it'd be great if you can make the unit a little quieter. Well, that was pretty easy. We went to fan mode and put it on medium, which is, it still gives you 75% of the output. And then we added an Aperture Nova P300C next to it, and we basically had the same output we had with the 1 unit at 100%. The booklight configuration meant we had the 1200C with its back to the talent. The back side of the unit, where the fans are, is a little louder than the front side. So I made a note of that. And then on the next shot, we were in the garage, where we went direct through a softbox. No problem. Funny thing is, we still had the unit on medium fan mode, which on the display says half, but you can run it up to 75%. We had it, at 67. And so it was doing fine with the softener, light still coming through the windows, all good. The next day, we had a setup in the empty lobby of the business where we were shooting. There too, the Nanlux 1200C was just the ticket. Threw an 8x8 of half or full grid, and no worry about the fans. And then just to go over a number of the other units here, we've got a bounce on the fill side. That's a 300 Nova. And then there's a 600D into the ceiling. And that's just giving a little more ambience. And then there's a 300X through a silk on the SunPower logo. And then up the stairs, there's another 600D with a Fresnel coming back as a backlight. So that all just works together for a very simple stand-up scene. The second shot that day had windows in the background, so we let them blow a little because they had full sun streaming through. And then we added that Nova again, and we were good. So we added an aperture 300x into a light dome for a backlight, and then way off in the distance, we smashed a 600D into the ceiling to add a little interest to the background. Moving on. For this other job, we had some interview setups at a company in an old loft-like setting with a lot of large multi-paned windows. We had one situation where we had a small room with a lot of window, and we wanted to hold some detail outside, so we popped the 1200C on a stand, added the softbox, and let it fly. And it totally did what we needed it to do. The DP was impressed. We were running audio, but that wasn't a problem as we were going direct. And here is where it'd be nice to have a little offset so you could tilt a little more with the box on it. And as you can see, we weren't at 100%. We also used it in a typical interview setup where we had no windows to worry about, and were able to double break it and still only be at like 40%. So a little tangent. What's interesting is that I'm used to keeping a flat diffuser in front of my sky panels when I put a snapback on them. But in the case of the softbox that comes with the Nanlux 1200C, you need to take the flat diffuser out in order to add the softbox. So you can add an interior layer of diffusion or whatever, but like the Gemini 1x1 hard, I assume you get more output by taking the flat diffuser out. There is not that much difference with a sky panel between the regular flat diffuser out or in, apart from the fact that it mixes the many points into one. The 1x1 hard, without the diffuser, has its output enhanced because there are all these little lenses on each of the emitters. With the 1200C, there are no extra lenses, so I'm not sure what's going on. But I definitely want to test whether you get more output without the flat diffuser or with it. So anyway, we'll do that at another time. You know, I was just thinking about this as well. Sometimes you hear about a new light and you think it's going to solve all your problems. Chances are it won't. It will solve a few and may create other problems that you ignored because you were so sure this new light would make all your dreams come true. You get an M18 or larger M series unit and think, now I've got my big light, which is great. But now you also have to think about power. Can the circuits hold it at this old house that you happen to be shooting at? Do you need a Jenny? Do you need a distro? If, you know, it'd be nice to run it at 220 if you're going to burn it all day. Or you get a unit like a 500 Forza or 600D, and because it has a lot of pop for the money, you think, boom, I'm good. But it's not quickly color tunable. So you use it when that works, and you add gel or whatever when it's not necessarily the perfect fit. So every unit has its place. None are perfect for every lighting situation. What I like about the Nanlux 1200C so far, and this is before using it in any kind of RGB situation, is that it gives me almost all the capabilities of a 360C, as far as I know, in a smaller form factor. I can actually fit it into my truck even when I have hampers blocking most of the center aisle. Where I might have had to head up a number of S60s to get a similar output, I can just put up one head and call it good. It has lumen radio built in, and unlike an HMI, it's dimmable. And being a panel, it's somewhat soft right out of the gate, which is the same reason I've always liked the KinoFlow 850 Celeb. Bigger face and soft. The 1200C just has a whole lot more output. If you just need a daylight source with a lot of output, there are other ways of getting that. But if you have a large panel unit for your main source, you can use your harder units that may have been used in the past to key through a softener, and now use those units to bring some interest to other areas of your scene with highlights or breakups or paired with reflectors, CRLS. And generally speaking, when you're confronted with a unit like this, you find yourself comparing. So you ask yourself, when was the last time I really wanted an S360 on a shoot? When do you really need one? Anytime you're putting up multiple panels behind a softener to create one large source, it would be nice to cut down on the sources. It's nice to have a fully white, tunable, and RGB capable panel if you're playing with multiple theatrical colors. It's nice to have a fully white, tunable, and RGB capable panel when you need to quickly dial in a white and perhaps some color correction to match existing fluorescence or whatever else is going on in a practical location that you can't directly control. It's nice to have a fully white tunable diffuse source with a lot of output when you don't have a lot of space or power for that unit and you're battling windows or some other bright source over which you have little control. Hopefully, down the road, we can see how the Dyno series matches up with other familiar units and get notes from more folks who have had a chance to play with them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time. So here we were at the end of the day. Everything was kind of moving fast. We had the main source coming from the window. We took that down with a half soft frost. And then the fill side was a 1200C coming through Magic Cloth. It's always tough to get a shot off the monitor because you've got all funky reflections behind you. And then on the plant in the back on the right, outside, we had a 300D with a Fresnel hitting that plant, and then inside we had a 300X on a spotlight mount making some patterns on the back wall. And then I think at the last minute we added a 60D or X in a softbox for a little eye light.